Vancouver Canucks are very proud to select for Marshall Svink, Team Moto of the Swedish Elite League, Daniel and Henrik Sedin.
As mentioned throughout the show, Daniel and Henrik Sedin announced their retirement from the NHL earlier today. 17 seasons with the Canucks. The Twins are saying goodbye at the end of the year. The man who played a big role in bringing both players to Vancouver, Brian Burke, joins us in a second. Having time to reflect, though, Daniel, pretty thankful Burke and his front office were able to pull off that draft day surprise.
That draft day was, I mean, we expected to end up on different teams, and somehow they managed to get us both. And like Henrik said, those early years, too, it would have been very easy for them to give up on us. But they believed in us, and they stood by us. So we can't say enough about those people. And I think they know, you know who they are, and it's been an amazing 17 years, that's for sure.
Well, we know who they are.
Yeah.
One of them is Brian Burke, joining us now in studio. When you hear that, Brian, what goes through your head?
Well, they're wonderful kids, but the two guys in the Vancouver Canucks organization that deserve credit for the Twins are Thomas Gradin and Mark Crawford. Thomas Gradin identified these guys and believed in them long before I did, really pushed us to do it, and Mark Crawford turned them into players.
It was, I mean, we just went through the process, and if I tried to give all of the trades that ended up bringing you second and third overall picks for that draft, we'd be here for about 10 minutes just talking draft picks. Have you done anything as difficult as that in your career to get that second and third overall pick?
To get the two picks together was hard, but it's the worst first round in the history of the league.
Yeah.
And that's the reason people were willing to make trades. Probably more work went into getting Chris Pronger in '93 when we traded up from 6 to 2. That probably because Dean Lombardi was the GM in San Jose, and Dean's a miserable, stubborn bastard. And it went right to the floor, too. And that was, I think, probably the most work. This one was more convoluted. So Father's Day, the Sunday before the draft, I made the deal with Bob Murray in Chicago. So now we got 3 and 4, but we don't register that trade. We were trying to get, and Dave Nonis was the assistant GM. We were hoping to draft 1, 2, 3.
Right.
So we didn't announce that we had 4. We were still seeing if we could get Atlanta's pick too.
Right.
And we would have taken Patrick Stefan and the Twins.
Amazing.
Finally, Donnie Waddell said, "Look, I'm not trading the pick we have to pick." So we got 4 from Chicago, then traded it to Tampa on the floor for 1. So now we got 1 and 3, and then we got.
Did you know Waddell was going to take?
Yeah, Patrick Stefan, and we liked Patrick Stefan immensely. He had concussion problems. He would have had a great NHL career.
So let me ask you, when did they find out that they were going to be drafted together?
10 minutes before the draft. Yeah. So I'm always the first person at the draft. It's a superstition I have. I'm there 3 hours early.
Right.
I've just now traded Brian McCabe in a first to get the pick, and then 2/3 to get the first pick. And I'm going to get Pavel Brendel at this point.
Right.
So I said to Dave Nonis, we're getting fired unless Rick Dudley comes here and says he'll do the deal. Because we had hung up on each other the night before, cursing and yelling.
So you were on good terms.
Good terms.
Good terms.
So he comes walking across, and he said, "Okay, I'll do your deal." Because he had asked for a second and a fourth. I said, "No, I'll do 2/3. So it's really high-stakes poker, right? He walks in and says, "Okay, I'll do your deal." I said, "You bastard, you've already traded this pick, haven't you?" And he goes, "Yep. Traded it to the Rangers before he even made the deal with me."
Right.
So Dave Nonis and the assistant general manager from Larry Simmons went down to do the deal, and I walked over to Donnie Waddell and said, Ted Turner's here. You give me a third, and you can go up and pick first. You'll be the first expansion team to ever pick first.
Right.
So it all happened right on the floor, and then I pointed at the Twins. I said, "Gotcha."
Can you talk about that offer to Waddell that he would, like, what was your best offer to him that you can talk about that he wouldn't take for the first?
Well, we talked about multiple firsts, ours, like to flip
Futures,
down to, and another first in the future. We had an extra first at that time from the Pavel Bure deal, which we had made that January. So we had talked a couple, but Donnie did the right thing. You know, you're a new team, you got to pick.
You would have owned the like. There's no point in anyone else being there if you have the top 3. You needed a wrestling theme walking up there next to Gary and making the pick. That would have been historic.
Well, when Gary got up and announced, it was really because they boo the commission, right? Gary's a great guy, but they always boo him at the draft. Then he says, "I have some trades to announce," and you could have heard a pin drop in there in about 10 seconds.
Right.
And so he says Chicago, and then he announced Tampa Bay, then he announced Atlanta, and everyone's figured out that the Canucks are picking 2 and 3.
Right.
And that's why they were 22 and 33. They wanted high numbers. I said no. But, and Danny will be mad I say this, just to prove I'm not a great hockey genius, I picked him in the wrong order. Like,
I was going to ask you that.
Hank's a better player than Danny. Danny
The
has to play
captain
with
went
Hank,
third overall.
and Hank can play with anybody.
Did they decide? Who decided? You decided second overall?
Yeah,
third
they
overall?
asked, the agent was Michael Barnett.
Yeah.
They wanted high numbers, and I don't like high numbers. So I said, no, we're 22 and 33. And now no one's ever going to wear those numbers again there.
So it's and no, they won't. They'll go to the rafters. So obviously it's a unique situation in sports, but these are two unique athletes. Talk about kind of the kids you got and then the men that they have become.
Well, we did all this research on our high picks. We tried to get it right on everybody, right? We couldn't find one problem with these kids. Not they didn't even use bad language. Their manners were excellent. Their schoolwork was excellent. Their relatives were all nice.
Their wardrobe was a little off, like nothing. You couldn't find anything.
We couldn't find one negative. And Thomas Gradin is digging and digging and digging, and we're like, can you find anything out? Anything? Did one of them get suspended for, I got kicked out of high school for fighting. That ever happened to them? No. So we're trying to find a wart, and we can't find a wart on either one of them. So they're really impressive kids. Like what the public sees, that's what they are. They're professional. Their work ethic is unmatched, and they've just gotten better and better. But again, to go back to it, Thomas Gradin believed in these guys before anyone else did, and Mark Crawford turned them into 2 hockey players.
If you had to take one and another team took the other twin, how do I phrase this? Would they have been the same players if they weren't playing together?
No, this is a twin thing. I mean, this is not. I've had great lines. Like I had the West Coast Express line. Morrison, Bertuzzi, Naslund. They read each other's minds a little bit. They did some great things. This is a twin thing. This is a radar thing. This is something that you can't explain. And I didn't see it till I went over to the World Championships that year. Thomas Gradin is like, we got to get these guys. And I'm like, no one's ever picked 2 and 3. What do you mean we got to get these guys? How are we going to do this? And Dave Nonis is like, you've got to do this. You've got to find a way to do this. I didn't believe it until I went to Norway to the World Championships, and then you could see it. But it's a twin thing. It's
just knowing
it's a sixth
where the other
sense.
guy is and understanding it's something that you have to work years on with a teammate, and then you get this guy. I got to ask you, we were talking about Steve Nash, who's going into the Basketball Hall of Fame, and the knock against Nash was he never made an NBA Finals. But as we get to the age where he's being inducted into the Hall of Fame, people are saying, does that really matter? Like, he revolutionized the game, the things that he did on the ice, the no Stanley Cup thing. Where do you think that ranks when you're breaking down guys who have spent 17 years in the show?
Well, first off, I'm on the selection committee at the Hockey Hall of Fame, so I can't talk about their suitability or eligibility. I will tell you this. There's 31 teams in the NHL. There's going to be a lot of guys that go into the Hall of Fame that don't have a ring. Right. It used to be 6 teams, and most guys, like in the CFL now, if a guy plays 10 years, he probably has a ring.
Yeah.
Ray Burke didn't win his cup till right at the end in Colorado. You telling me if he hadn't gone to Colorado and won a cup, he wouldn't have walked in, shoulders not touched either side of the doorway into the Hockey Hall of Fame? So I think if you get to 32 teams, if Seattle's real expansion, whatever, every team you add reduces the chances of a player ending up with a ring. And their ability to get a ring really rests on us. Right. Can the GM put the team together? And so they played in the finals. They played at Game 7. They got as close as you can get without a ring. I think that's going to be something that's going to have to be overlooked increasingly with players.
Right.
Olympic gold medal, though.
Oh, they're
people don't bring that up enough.
Not just that. The rest of their international resume, like 3 or 4 world championships, these guys always went when they were asked to play. Yeah, right. They've got 3 or 4 world championship medals. They've got Olympic gold. They're legit. These guys are. Their resume outside of the NHL is just as impressive.
Right.
Before we let you go,
so it's not the knock, is what I was saying. It's not that you don't have a cup. There's a lot of great players who go without the cup, is what I was trying to say.
David Poile just became the winningest general manager in the history of the National Hockey League. Doesn't have a ring. Do you think any of us respect him less, or think he's done less of a great job, and all hoping someday that he gets it if we're not going to get it?
Right.
So no, I think as the number of teams go up, your odds of winning a ring go down.
He may change that this year, David Poile. You never know.
You never know.
How it plays out. When you've been in hockey as long as you have your hits, you have your misses. It is what it is. And it's a sign of a long and very good career that you're allowed to have some misses. To pull off the 2 and 3 picks overall on that summer night in Boston in 1999, to get 2 guys who will go down as the greats in that organization's history. How proud are you of that?
I'm proud of them. Like, I'm really proud of what they've accomplished. But as far as how proud of the whole day is, what I would say is this. I'm stumbling a little bit. I'm really proud of what they've accomplished. At the time, you go back, it wasn't applauded widely. It wasn't like people said, hey, this is great. Everyone's like, well, Brian Burke's creativity, we applaud it, but we'll wait and see if the players could play. Because a lot of people had seen the World Junior Championships and they weren't that good. So it was a big gamble. I mean, this is one where sometimes you push the chips all in and you think, okay, I got this. And the other one, you're taking a chance. So it was a big gamble, but it was a kind of a perfect storm too. It was such a poor draft. There weren't other options in my mind. We're going to get these two kids or we're going to trade our pick.
I think Havlat was the next. Was it Havlat late in that first round to Ottawa? It was the next best player. There weren't a lot of great players in that.
Jackman was in the, he's a good player with a long career, but
Connolly.
The second round was better than the first round.
Yeah.
Which is embarrassing.
Right.
It is.
Let me throw this out there because, and I'll be honest, I thought it was a marketing ploy when you made the picks. I thought it was something, we've never seen this before. It's kind of cool, but I'll wait and see, and I wait and see like the rest of them. How much, though, I always talk about culture. How much did they set the culture or help set the culture in Vancouver with that work ethic, with that class on and off the ice?
Well, we were blessed there. We had a really steady succession plan there.
Right.
So Trevor was the captain. Trevor Linden was a marvelous captain.
Right.
I've been very blessed with captains. Then Mark Messier was there, and he was a joy. Then Naslin. So they learned at the knee of a top captain.
Right.
The culture, I think, was already there. They just continued it. They just perfected it and improved it. But no, we were blessed there. We had a great chain of leaders there that came through.
So important.
Brian, we really appreciate you coming in this day. I mean, obviously, Henrik and Daniel did what they did, and they deserve all the plaudits, but this is a very unique story.
Yeah.
And your role in this story is prevalent, and we appreciate you coming in and talking to us today.
pleasure.
Thank you very much. Brian Burke, back in the day, he got 2 and 3, and most other people in that draft weren't very good.